consciousness rises and goes to the self, then the gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas are absolutely equal and not moving at all. Okay? So, this is what Sundar is saying here. Now look again. Prakriti works by the inequality of three modes. They are proportionally all separate from each other. Gunas, in perpetual collision. Now, Sundar is using a very interesting word. He is using the word collision. Your mind, your vital and your body are not working at all in harmony. Okay? It's very, very clear. They are not working in harmony at all. Sometimes the mind is opposing the vital, opposing the body is opposing both, and there is also, to add to the confusion, there is the ego also which comes in and dictates all sorts of things which creates more confusion. So the word is perpetual collision and intermixture. The mind substance is mixing with the vital substance and mixing with the physical substance. But they are mutating. They are never stable. All the three are mutating, constantly changing with each other. And by her function of ego mind, who is her nature, okay? That she will go back and see Prakriti. Yeah, it is Prakriti. It is usually nature and Prakriti are in feminine. Okay, and that also is there is no gender there actually, but because it is moving and producing, just as a woman in the physical world also is producing a child, so the consciousness only permits and the Prakriti is moving. That's why it is feminine. Okay? She gets the Purusha to identify himself with all this working and so creates a sense of active, mutable, temporal personality in the silent eternity of the self. The self is actually silent, but Purusha at the lower level is very powerful. The influence of body, mind, life is so powerful that the self in the being gets completely conquered, gets completely submitted, okay, and it becomes a slave to the Prakriti. Your body, mind, life is most important. You are not even aware of yourself. So it identifies itself with the body, mind, life. That's our normal condition. Okay? The impure natural consciousness, that is our body, mind, life, overclouds the pure soul consciousness. That's exactly what is said. The Purusha is completely subjugated by the Prakriti. Now, this is a very interesting fact actually, and you will see, I'm mentioning this because not many people know this, okay, that all three of those romantic dramas, okay, Perseus the Deliverer, Eric, the Baziz of Basora, and even the other ones, all of them, actually, he is interpreting this phenomena of Purusha and Prakriti. Okay? Just to give you one example, Vasavadatta, take Vasavadatta. She is the princess. So she represents Prakriti. And she is saying to Vatsa is the prince. Okay? And she is saying, I will conquer him. I will put him under my spell. I will do whatever I want with him. All these sort of feelings are there in her. This is exactly Prakriti. And note interestingly, you may challenge me and say, how do you know? How do you know that this is symbolic? I'll give you one very interesting example. The prince Vatsa has no parents in the drama. So what does it mean? It means that it is unborn. And so very clearly, Vatsa the prince is the Purusha, the self. So it's just a hint I'm giving you. If you read those romantic, don't think it is pure romance. It is. It's wonderfully romantic. But this is the symbol that he is using. Even in the other ones, you will see the same. Okay, in that Eric, okay, where those maids come to kill him and actually fall in love with him afterwards. So it is Vatsa who finally conquers Prakriti. So the soul becomes master of Prakriti at the spiritual level. That's the drama. Okay, so the impure natural consciousness, nature, overclouds the pure soul consciousness. The mind forgets the person in the ego. Note the word person with a P cap. Whenever Siranda uses the word person, he means the Purusha. Okay? He means the Purusha, without any doubt. And the mind has forgotten. We are not aware of the soul at all. We are not aware of our person. Okay, the mind forgets the person in the ego. It is the ego that causes that. And the personality. Personality, lowercase p, very clearly the body, mind, life. So these are two words that Srivanga uses for person with a p cap is usually the self. Okay? And personality with a lowercase is our body, mind, life. What we naturally call our nature. Okay, so we suffer the discriminating intelligence to be carried away by the sense mind and its outward going functions and by the desire of the life and the body. The vital and the body completely dominate the mind and the mind is blown away, okay, like the boat on rough seas. That is the image in the Gita. Okay? The winds make the boat absolutely helpless and drive it wherever they want. This is exactly what happens with the boat, which is our self, and our body, mind, life, which is nature, and it does whatever it wants with the soul. It's completely dominated. Okay? We suffer this discriminating intelligence to be discriminating intelligence, not the word. It is witness. It sees clearly things. It has got discrimination, viveka. Okay? To be carried away by the sense mind and its outgoing functions. Outgoing functions, body, mind, life functions. And the desire of the life in the body. So long as the Purusha sanctions this action, ego and desire and ignorance must govern the natural being. Now, this is something interesting. Surendra is saying in the last sentence that the Purusha is agreeing to whatever the body, mind, life is doing. Now you may find this surprising. Why should the soul, which is divine, allow the body, mind, life to do all these wrong things? That question may arise in your mind. Okay? But it is because of experience. The body, mind, life is giving you experience. And without experience, you can't grow. If you want to know what pure love is, you may never know it unless you know what hate is. So therefore, the soul gives the permission to the body, mind, life to experiment, explore and have experience. That is the reason why in the beginning, the Purusha sanctioning. It sanctions all these things. And when it goes up into the self, the consciousness goes into the self, it is neither sanctioning nor rejecting. It is only a witness. It just looks at the body, mind, life without rejection and just looks colorlessly. It is absolutely, it sees what it is. Okay? That's the reason why sometimes the Purusha consciousness is compared to a camera. Okay? It's a very interesting image. The camera never gives justifications. It never colors the image. It sees exactly what is there. If you have a correspondent at an incident in the road where there is an accident, the correspondent will give his own judgment and say, he is right, he is wrong, and he will say all these things he will say. But the one who is a witness self will be like a camera. He is a journalist and he just takes a picture of the whole thing. Okay? So this is, you must understand that in the beginning, the soul is agreeing to all these things. Okay? Whatever it is doing, right and wrong and all. For us it is right and wrong. But for the soul, it is experience. It is learning that this is love, this is hate, this is right, this is wrong. Okay? So that's why the Purusha sanctions The soul is actually agreeing with all that you are doing, even when you are doing wrong things, because you are getting experience. That's the interesting part. Okay? So, now we go to the next para. But if this were all, who will read? Kiran, can you read? Have you got the text?
Yes, Ranga. Shall I read?
Yes. Go ahead.
Yes. But if this were all, then the only remedy would be to withdraw altogether the sanction, suffer or compel all our nature by this withdrawal to fall into a motionless equilibrium of the three gunas and so cease from all action. But this is precisely the remedy. Though it is undoubtedly a remedy, one which abolishes, we might say, the patient along with the disease, which the Gita constantly discourages, especially to resort to a tamasic inaction is just what the ignorant will do if this truth is thrust upon them. The discriminating mind in them will fall into a false division, a false opposition, buddhi bheda. Their active nature and their intelligence will be divided against each other and produce a disturbance and confusion without true issue, a false and self-deceiving line of action. Mithya, mithyakara or else,
Mithyachara. Kiran.
oh sorry, mithyachara or else a mere tamasic inertia, cessation of works, diminution of the will to life and action, not therefore a liberation, but rather a subjection to the lowest of the three gunas, to tamas, the principle of ignorance and of inertia. Or else they will not be able to understand at all. They will find fault with this higher teaching, assert against it their present mental experience, their ignorant idea of free will, and yet more confirmed by plausibility of their logic in their bewilderment and the deception of ego and desire, lose their chance of liberation in a deeper, more obstinate confirmation of the ignorance.
Yeah. Okay. So, interesting para. And what he's saying is that if this is the thing, that the soul is going on sanctioning everything that the body, mind, life is doing, then how can you get a divine consciousness? Okay? The soul is agreeing with this. So, there are two solutions to this. One solution is that the soul completely withdraws its sanction and becomes separate from Prakriti. So this is actually the normal path of Jnana Yoga and also Bhakti Yoga. Okay? Not Karma Yoga. And the second solution is Karma Yoga. That is, you get a pure consciousness which has not withdrawn from body, mind, life, but which is operating through body, mind, life with the divine will. So one is negative solution and one is a positive solution. See, the positive solution is also given by the Gita and Sri Aurobindo. And Jnana Yoga is the other. It's a negative solution. Your consciousness separates itself from body, mind, life and lives eternally and happily in the spiritual planes of consciousness and doesn't bother about body, mind, life. In any case, in 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years, it will disappear. What do I have to worry about that? I am pure consciousness. So I will live eternally in the spiritual planes of consciousness. Where will it live? It can live in any world it wants. Brahmaloka, Goloka, Janaloka, Anandaloka. There are many, many spiritual worlds and they all live in these. You can select what you want to live in. If you want to live in Ananda, you can be there. If it is other things also are there. So many other lokas are there. So, this is what is being discussed in this para. So, we'll go sentence by sentence and see what you say. But, if this were all, that means to say, the soul is sanctioning eternally all that the body, mind, life is doing, then the status quo is maintained and there is no possibility of a divine life. Okay? So, if this were all, then the only remedy would be to withdraw altogether the sanction. The soul must stop agreeing to all these things. Suffer or compel all our nature by this withdrawal to fall into a motionless equilibrium of the three gunas. Now note very interestingly, motionless equilibrium. We saw just now in the previous para that if they are not in equilibrium, they are acting upon each other and that's why there is movement. But if there is no movement at all, they become absolutely, in mathematical terms, 33 1/3% each one. Then it becomes 100%. All are equal. At that time, there is no movement at all. Okay? So, suffer or compel all our nature by this withdrawal to fall into a motionless equilibrium of the three gunas and so cease from all action. This is the path in India. Very often this was the path. Okay. Withdraw yourself and don't do anything at all. Don't do any work. So, but the Gita will come out with a different thing. Okay? So, this is one solution. It's a negative solution. Negative from the point of view of Gita and Sri Aurobindo. Because you are rejecting the world. Your consciousness is fine and you have solved your problem individually. But what about the world? It is in constant suffering and death and perversion. Don't you have to say that? That is what Sri Aurobindo and the Gita say. So, that's the second solution. But the first solution is negative. Get rid of body, mind, life and go away from the physical world, which is full of dirt and disease and death world. But if this were all, then the only remedy would be to withdraw altogether the sanction of the soul to the body, mind, life. Suffer or compel. Suffer means, the word suffer doesn't mean to suffer, huh? It means to experience, to tolerate, okay? Suffer or compel all our nature by this withdrawal to fall into a motionless equilibrium of the three gunas and so cease from all action. That is why in India, those who are in the Brahmic consciousness very often just do nothing. They just sit. But this is precisely the remedy. I am reading the sentence without the parenthetical phrase. But this is precisely the remedy which the Gita constantly discourages. So, Sri Aurobindo also discourages. Why do you want to reject body, mind, life? They are instruments given to you. Use them for a good purpose. What is the use of rejecting them? That's what the Gita is saying. Now I'll read the phrase in between. Though it is undoubtedly a remedy, okay, which one which abolishes, we might say, the patient along with the disease. Now that's a very interesting way, which is said. The patient is the body, mind, life with the soul. Okay, the soul is suffering because it is undergoing all the pain and all the experience of the body, mind, life. So that's a patient. So what is the solution? The doctor comes and says, go to the self. And when you go to the self, okay, the ego disappears. And when the ego disappears, you are in a universal cosmic consciousness and the old personality that you were, personality, okay, that has disappeared. That's why in a very interesting way they say, operation successful, patient dead. Okay, so Swami is saying the same thing here in a different way. We say, we might say, which abolishes the patient along with the disease. The disease is ignorance, and the ignorance has gone into consciousness. But so has the personality. That also has gone away. So, operation successful, patient dead. The patient is the personality. Okay, so, which Gita constantly discourages. Don't reject body, mind, life. That's what the Gita is saying. Especially to resort to a tamasic inaction is just what the ignorant will do if this truth is thrust upon them. So what Gita also is pointing out is it really possible for your body, mind, life to remain without action? Just because you are physically inactive, does it mean that you are really inactive? What about your vital, which is having all desires and movements and jumping from here and there, and the mind also is continuing to do all sorts of thoughts. So sitting physically idle is not total cessation of action. Therefore, you are deluded and you think that that's a solution. It is not a solution. You have to be static in your consciousness, but use your body-mind life in the right way. And that can be done when the divine will operates through you and moves you. Then you don't have any more ego, you don't have any individual will or intention. You become an instrument of the divine. He will do whatever he will do through your body-mind life. Note interestingly that even when the divine is doing through your body-mind life, your body-mind life is not able to receive the will perfectly, transparently. Therefore, even that action can be imperfect. Okay? So, but it slowly goes on changing the more the divine will is received by you in the correct way. Okay? So that's the interesting part. Now, he's saying, especially to resort to a tamasic inaction is just what this ignorant will do. What the ignorant will. The ignorant here is a noun. Huh? Those who are ignorant, the ignorant people. The ignorant will do if this truth is thrust upon them. What truth? Withdraw. No. The 1980 part. I am not the body, I am not the vital, I am not the mind. Withdraw from here. So this is what the traditional path says, but the Gita says no. We'll do this with thrust upon them. The discriminating mind in them will fall into a false division, a false opposition, buddhi bheda. So that is not the right solution. That's what is being said. Their active nature and their intelligence will be divided against each other and produce a disturbance and confusion without a true issue. The false and self-deceiving line of action, mithyachara. This is the you think you are pure because you are in the consciousness and you think you are pure, but the bottom line life is going on acting in the wrong way. So that's a mithyachara. The word translated usually in English is hypocrisy. You are a hypocrite. But Srila doesn't agree with the word hypocrite. I think he will tell us that later on. Okay, so or else a mere tamasic inaction, inertia, cessation of works, diminution of the will to life and action, not therefore liberation, but rather subjection to the lowest of the three gunas, tamas. But note here said that it is a solution if you are thinking only of the individual. To withdraw your consciousness individually, it is a solution. That's a Buddhistic solution. Okay. But Sriyamdo and the Gita don't agree with that. Not therefore liberation, but rather subjection to the lowest of the three gunas of tamas, the principle of ignorance and inertia. Or else, they will not be able to understand at all. They will find fault with this higher teaching, assert against it their present mental experience, their ignorant idea of free will, and yet more confirmed by the plausibility of their logic in their bewilderment and the deception of ego and desire, lose their chance of liberation in a deeper, more obstinate confirmation of ignorance. So, very clear, the two solutions. One solution, withdraw from body, mind, life. Neti. I am not this, I am not this. It is a solution which is valid for the individual. But the world remains impure and in ignorance forever. So that won't do. You have to change that also. Okay. So the second solution, go to this higher consciousness, go to the self and become an instrument of the divine so that he works even in the body-mind life through you. You become the divine. Now you don't have any ego, you don't have any will, you don't have any intention, you don't have any desire. The divine is working through you when you become transparent in this way. Now we can go to the, what's the time? 32. So we have got 8 minutes. We can read the next paragraph. Who will read? Tarika, will you read?
Yeah.
Go ahead. In fact,
these higher truths can only be helpful because there only they are true to experience and can be lived on a higher and vaster plane of consciousness and being. To view these truths from below is to missee, misunderstand, and probably to misuse them. It is a higher truth that the distinction of good and evil is indeed a practical fact and law valid for the egoistic human life, which is the stage of transition from animal to the divine. But on a higher plane, we rise beyond good and evil, are above their duality, even as the Godhead is above it. But the unripe mind, seizing on this truth without rising from the lower consciousness where it is not practically valid, will simply make it a convenient excuse for indulging its asuric propensities. Denying the distinction between good and evil altogether and falling by self-indulgence deeper into the morass of perdition. Sarvajana vimudhan nashtan achetasaha. So too, with this truth of the determinism of nature, it will be misseen and misused as those misuse it who declare that a man is what his nature has made him and cannot do otherwise than as his nature compels him. It is true in a sense, but not in the sense which is attached to it, not in the sense that the ego self can claim irresponsibility and impunity for itself in its works. For it has will and it has desire, and so long as it acts according to its will and desire, even though that be its nature, it must bear the reactions of its karma. It is in a net, if you will, a snare which may well seem perplexing, illogical, unjust, terrible to its present experience, to its limited self-knowledge, but a snare of its own choice, a net of its own weaving.
So, a very interesting para, and the subject is carried to the next level. So, now, this para reminds us of the chapter in the synthesis, which is the standards of conduct. If you remember, there are 4 levels of the standards of conduct. Okay? So, this is what we are discussing. If you are in your body-mind life from the lower level, you are not going to see the truth. Why? Because you are using your senses, and the senses are all defective. The eyes don't see everything. Not only don't see everything subtle, but even physical also they don't see everything. Okay? That's very obvious. Our ears also are not hearing everything. Even dogs can hear, and bats, they can hear high-pitched sounds, and dogs can hear low-pitched sounds, which we can't hear. So exactly the same way, you are in normal consciousness, your view of things will be absolutely wrong. Okay? As you keep climbing higher and higher, the view improves and it becomes more true. And in the self, your view is absolutely correct, but there is no power to do anything. So this is the description being given here. Okay? So it's very interesting. We'll start looking, but I don't think we can finish. So we will redo it next time. There is absolutely no harm in rereading Siram though, because the more you read, the more you will understand it. I am reading the first sentence. In fact, these higher truths can only be helpful because they are true to experience, can be lived and can be lived on a higher and vaster plane of consciousness and being. So, these higher truths go to the higher level of consciousness and all. But you have to be very, very careful. To view these truths from below is to missee. He is explaining, but I will just tell you what is meaning. To view these truths from below. It is being said that your body-mind life is acting on its own and the consciousness is identified with them. So, a criminal can give the example, the argument that what can I do? I am subject to the body-mind life. The body-mind life is my master. And if the body-mind life is doing something wrong, I can't help it. I am a slave. Okay? It's like the soldier who will say, I am shooting and killing people because my superior has told me to do that. So, you can't blame me. I am innocent. This is the misseeing of the truth. Okay? So that's what he is saying. To view these truths from below is to missee, misunderstand, and probably to misuse them. You can say, oh, my body-mind life can do whatever it wants. I am not responsible. So let's go on doing whatever I want. So there is a misuse. It is a higher truth. It is a higher truth that the distinction of good and evil is indeed a practical fact and a law valid for the egoistic human life. In other words, you must be able to distinguish between good and evil at our lower level. You can't say that they are equal like in the self. When you have consciousness in the self, good and evil are only colors without the connotation of good and bad. They are just colors. So that truth is not true at the lower level. That's what Shalini is pointing out. At the lower level, good is good and evil is evil. And you have to reject evil. But at the self, we are not rejecting anything. We are just impartially looking at everything. So there is a truth that can be misused. It is a higher truth that the distinction of good and evil is indeed a practical fact and law valid for the egoistic human life, which is a stage of transition from the animal to the divine. But on a higher plane, we rise beyond good and evil. They don't make any difference to me. Are above their duality, even as the Godhead is above it. Okay? The divine has created the world of pain and impurity, but he is standing above it. There are three levels. It depends on which level you are. The transcendent, the cosmic, and the individual. Okay? So, don't misapply the laws and truths of one plane to another plane. Then you will be completely mistaken. That's what it said. Okay? The stage of transition, okay, they've got quite a lot more, and it's 8:40. So we will redo this para, because it's a very interesting one, and it also gives us the reference to the four standards of conduct. At which level, which level, which level. And the truths of one level should never be applied to the other levels. Then it becomes false. Okay? So, I am bidding au revoir to all of you. Have a nice day. I'll meet you.
Ranga, thank you.
Merci beaucoup.
Au revoir, Ranga. Au revoir tout le monde.